Horizon Zero Dawn just got a fancy new remaster. It's one of the only games on PlayStation I've actually platinumed, so I'm quite excited for this remaster. So I thought there's never been a better time to replay this game, so here's the best tips and tricks that you should know. Let's go! Let me know any tips and tricks for Horizon Zero Dawn you have in the comments down below. So this remaster will be available on both PC and on PlayStation. It's a $10 upgrade if you already own the existing complete edition. But if you are playing on PlayStation 5, you can actually import your PlayStation 4 save files. There's a new menu option here where you can import those save files. You can then import them either from the cloud or a USB or wherever you've got them, so you can then boot up that save. This is something that you might want to consider if you are going to play the game again, because you could just play the game on New Game Plus. Like for example, if you finish the game, you might be max level, you've done the DLC, etc. You can then boot up that save file, and then when you're in the game, you can actually create a New Game Plus loadout. Once you've done that, you can go back to the main menu and then boot up a New Game Plus if you wanted to say play the game again, but keep all of the rewards. You don't have to worry about going to collect them again, or just start a brand new playthrough. Now, either way, if you are booting up an old save or a new one, you will have these complete edition items in the remaster. Now, these can be bought at any vendor, even that very first vendor that you find. By going here and checking the treasure list, you'll be able to trade in those tokens that you get right at the start of the game for some armor and weapons that will really help you in the early stages of the game and give you a bit of a boost. But you will find better variants of these and just better armor and weapons in general throughout your playthrough, but you can grab these to give you a bit of a head start through those early hours. Something else that I do highly recommend you do as you are starting out is turn off the pickup animations. Anytime you pick up an item, Aloy will bend down and physically pick up the item. In the settings, you can actually turn this off, so you can then at full sprint just pick up any item you want. This is really beneficial for just saving those couple of seconds outside of combat, but mainly in combat, because then say if you need some medicine for healing, or you just need to pick something up, say you run out of Ridgewood and you need to make arrows, you can just zoom past and actually pick this up without getting to slow down having to pick that up, so you get rid of that animation. But let's talk about the best skills to get. Now, right at the start of the game, there are 3 skills that you should grab immediately once you get those initial skill points. That is Lure, Silent Strike, and Concentration. Concentration is a skill you will use through the entire game to slow down time and line up those shots so you can knock off those machine parts. It's hugely important throughout the main game, but Lure and Silent Strike are really good in the early game because they're just a great combo that when you're hiding in grass, you can use the Lure call to lure the enemies over to you, and then you can Silent Strike, which will instantly kill them, so you don't have to worry about having to shoot them or use your melee weapon or anything like that. And because in the early game, you're going to fight a lot of watchers and the smaller scrapper machines that you can one-shot with Silent Strike, it does make that process just so much easier. My personal favorite skills that I always grab early is Double Shot and Triple Shot, so this allows you to knock additional arrows. This not only increases the damage of initial arrow shot when you do shoot it, but because you can knock multiple arrows that have status effects, say for example if you're trying to apply frost or fire, whatever, on the enemy, you can knock multiple arrows and then fire that, and it'll build up that status much faster than just knocking the single arrow. It's the main use is why you'll use the double and the triple shot, but I've just always found that to be my favorite skill. Gatherer and Scavenger in the Forager line are also fantastic to give you a chance to gain additional resources, as well as pickups when you do pick up the natural resources in the world, because they are really important for the crafting elements of the game, because you will be crafting a ton of arrows and bombs and whatever you're actually going to use in combat. So having the chance to get additional ones, and then when you get the higher tiers of this as well to give you even more, is also really beneficial. And then further down in that line, you can also grab the Call Mount Plus. So even if you don't have a mount actually overridden, you can then just summon one anyway to travel around. It just helps traveling around the world, makes it a little bit nicer in terms of the overall time it takes you to get around. But the best skill potentially in the game is the Tinkerer skill, which is also in the Forager line. There's plenty of good skills in this line. What this allows you to do is remove any mods you have put on your gear and swap them out. So if you've got a maxed out bow or something like that, and you put a modification in that, this allows you to then take out the one that was in there and put something else in it. This also means that you can then sell those old mods for extra metal shards, which you can then use to invest in anything else, right? Because you're going to find a ton of modifications throughout this game, especially when you get towards the end game and you're fighting these bigger machines. You're going to drop a lot of these modifications. Finding ones that are just perfect for your build and your overall setup does take some time, but you do want to have at least something in the gear until you find those good ones. And then this allows you to at least have something in your gear, and then you can can remove it, go and sell it, or put it in something else, and then put the better ones, like the higher epic tier ones, once you do get them. Let's talk about some exploration stuff here. Always go to every campfire that's near you, not only to unlock that point, because then it will be a fast travel point, but also you need to be at campfires to save. Now, speaking of fast traveling, you will use fast travel packs to travel. Now, these will require resources in order to craft them. However, there is an unlimited fast travel pack called the Golden Fast Travel Pack that you can get. The very first location in the game you can find this is actually at Day Tower Gate. There's a merchant here that will sell this to you. Now, you will need fatty meat and fox skin. In order to find fatty meat, you basically just need to fight boars or whatever you find. Like, fatty meat's pretty common in terms of the animal wildlife. The main one is a fox skin, and you will probably need to defeat a few foxes in order to get the skin. The best way to find foxes is typically in that initial couple of areas of the game before Day Tower, and then wherever you fast travel to, just bring up your focus and scan around all the wildlife until you find a fox. Mark it with your focus, as they're very easy to lose track of because they are quite small, and then run over to it, and then hopefully you will get the fox skin. Take that back to the vendor and you've got the Golden Fast Travel Pack, so then you can freely fast travel anywhere you like in the world. Speaking of merchants, when you visit them for the first time, they do have a free sample box under the treasure boxes. This is just free materials, so anytime you find a new merchant, go and buy this. There's no downside to doing this. Also, when you're looking at what you should sell, anything that says used for, selling for metal shards, just sell that. You don't need to think about it in any other way. That's specifically just for selling, so you can sell those. And generally speaking as well, don't worry too much in the early game with the green or the blue weapons that you do find, as there is purple variants that'll come later in the game. So if you are missing a couple of upgrades or something, don't worry too much, as the purple variants that you find, especially once you get to the main city, are very, very strong. And once you have left the Nora area of the game, you should return to Ross House during the story. This will really add to the experience. I won't say too much about why, but just return here and visit this location regularly throughout the big story beats. And some combat tips as well. When facing new machines, study them first to find their weak points. In the early game, you don't fight a lot of the larger machines, so you can kind of get away with not scanning them and just sort of brute forcing it. But the large machines you'll face sort of to the mid and the late game, you really need to scan them, find those specific machine parts, and remove them to lower their effectiveness, and remove certain aspects, like say the Thunderjaw's ability to shoot you with their cannons, right? You want to make sure you remove those to make those fights a little bit easier. By the way, in the notebook under the machine catalog, you can actually see what the machine parts are, also what they're weak to, and what they will drop. So if you're looking for specific parts, you can then search the machine catalog to find those parts. But it's also beneficial to know what certain machines are actually weak to, like what status effects. It does also help. Preparation is also key before these big encounters, right? Setting up traps and using your tripcaster, set up mines, whatever that is really beneficial to set up these encounters before you actually engage in them. And then you can sort of manipulate the machine to move through these traps, apply those status effects, knock them down, etc. It does really help. And don't forget about potions. It's really easy to forget you've got them on your hotbar, but potions can give you additional health. It can restore your health much quicker than the medicine pouch. It can also give you resistances to certain damage types. Like if you're fighting a fire claw, you might want some of that fire resistance. Speaking of those elements, you can view what they actually do when you're looking at your weapons, but the freeze will stall enemies and increase the overall damage you do to them. Tear is highly efficient at removing machine parts. Fire deals damage over time based on the target's max health, and shock causes temporary paralysis, immobilizing the target and enabling you to follow up with critical hits or overriding them. If you have unlocked the relevant override skill from the cauldrons, you'll then be able to override them and turn them into your ally for a period of time, which is actually super beneficial. But you can do this on a temporary basis with the corruption skill as well. By hitting enemies with corruption, applying that status effect, they'll just turn hostile to everything, and then they'll just essentially fight all of the things. When looking to mod your gear as well, don't forget about handling, as handling does increase your rate of fire and the reload time. So really good to put handling on your main bow to increase that rate of fire and the reload time, so you can knock those arrows much faster. And a couple of last things to finish us off here. Don't forget to upgrade your satchel pouches, as they will increase the amount of weapons and armor and resources and modifications, etc. that you'll be able to carry. Super beneficial to have. So keep an eye on those satchels. You can actually then create a job. So if you're missing a specific part, you can create a job on that satchel, and then it will say listed in your quest log, so you can keep track of say what ones you actually need in order to upgrade. And the DLC does unlock pretty early in the game, but it is recommended that you only enter the DLC area about level 30, because the content in there is quite difficult. It's definitely the hardest stuff in the game. It is a separate story to the main story, so you're not missing out by anything, say doing it too early or too late. It is completely separate, but it's just something to point out that you're going to struggle in there if you are a low level, so don't go there too early, but there is some good new armor and weapons that you can find in that area as well. So definitely well worth doing, and the Banuk story that is there is quite enjoyable as well. But let me know your thoughts down below. Is this your first time playing Horizon Zero Dawn? Second, third? I'm actually quite interested to know. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.